So I think because I worked through a lot of this shock beforehand, I was pretty okay. But I stayed deeply involved in the community for 1 year, and then I stayed sort of like loosely involved in the community for I think like 3 or 4 years after that. So it's just kind of progressively kind of zoning out.
So let's dive deeper in that. So how long was it, like the whole duration? Was it how many years? 5 years?
Um, I don't exactly remember because I moved around Southeast Asia, and there was also a similar community in Bali. So I spent about 6 to 7 years altogether exploring Tantra and sexual practices.
Okay. So about this sex cult, what was the argument that made you like, okay, I need to join? Okay, you wanted to heal, but what was their argument?
But to be fair, no one presented this, hey, this is us and a
Really?
sex cult. Would you like to join?
That's what I thought. Okay.
No, my background is that I come from a household where, unfortunately, I wasn't presented what healthy love or a healthy relationship is. And so I grew up really cynical about love. And I only got into my first real relationship when I was 26 or 27 in Malaysia. So that's when I moved to Southeast Asia. And when that relationship ended, it was just like everything came at me, all the pain from the years before, all the health scares and bankruptcy and all of the things just kind of came up for me at once. And just to make it a bit more challenging, the reason why this relationship ended was because I wasn't having orgasm. And so going through that process, I knew that I really want to explore Tantra and sacred sexuality. I wanted to understand for myself what's blocking me. So at this point, all I'm looking at is just myself, the need to heal, to be able to get into a relationship again.
So what made you think that it was your fault? Why did you think like, okay, I need to fix this? Maybe it was the man's fault.
Well, I was living at a time with this Polish girl who was highly sexual. Like she had someone basically over every weekend, and she was highly, highly sexual, highly orgasmic. And so she was there, of course, to watch this relationship and then watch the breakup. And she is actually the one who told me, Magda, you have to do something about it. This is your responsibility. And I actually appreciate it because, when something is so uncomfortable, you're just kind of like, just put it under the rag. Just, no, it's not an issue. And she kind of made me face it. No, this is an issue and you have to look at it. What is blocking you? And so I think, to be fair, so many women do not orgasm and we really do take it personally. I think, generally speaking, we really lack proper education and understanding of sexuality, especially female sexuality. And so men, knowingly or not knowingly, say the wrong thing, do the wrong thing that makes women really shut down and feel extremely embarrassed. That's why women fake orgasm. So women are conditioned to think that if something is not working, it's our fault. Because that's how it's been like for centuries. So if there is an issue with sex, there is this kind of instinct to be like, oh, it's my fault. There's something wrong with me. And I definitely had those thoughts. I thought there's something wrong with me and I need to fix myself.
Because I would assume that many women, they, like you said, they think it's their fault and they don't bother like fixing it. They said, maybe I'm just the way like this and I have enough on my plate, work, kids, whatever. And they just go on with life and they will probably die and never have an orgasm. So what made you say, no, I need to have an orgasm?
So, there's the saying that we change when the pain of not changing just gets too much. When we no longer can bear the pain of staying where we are. That is the motivation to do something. And the truth is that most of us are very comfortable in our pain, in our even misery. We're comfortable because we know it. And so we stay there. I think, what was going on for me through that breakup specifically, I was actually suicidal and I attempted to hurt myself a few times. It was like some of the hardest, months of my life dealing with that breakup. I think for me, it was the first time when I allowed myself to feel, like really feel. And so like I said, I had a story, like a few years before that, I thought I had cancer. So like I was even like, getting ready to die within a year. And I never fully processed a lot of things in my life. So when the breakup happened, all of these things came up and I was dealing with so much. And so the pain is incredible. And I remember lying on bed and literally begging God to help me. I was just like, I fully surrender. I don't know what else to do. I'm broken so deeply. So I was desperate at this point. I was like, I'm gonna do whatever it takes. I need to fix it. I need to understand what it's about.
So then you start reading, I assume, about the sexual healing and all these things. Yes.
So I had known already some
you
parts
did
of this.
already.
Yes.
Okay, good.
So at this time, I was working for this company, which maybe you know. It's called Mind Valley. Well, we're talking like over a decade ago. So the company was different, much smaller, but they launch online courses on spirituality, energy work, healing, personal development. And so I was exposed through that work, to these different ideas, like such a thing as energy and sexual energy. And in the office, we had the books, Mantak Chia's books, which is, maybe you've heard of them, Multi-Orgasmic Woman, Multi-Orgasmic Man, and Multi-Orgasmic Couple. So I had read those, and I had heard something about Tantra and sexual healing. But again, these days when you go online and you Google, there's so much you can find. That was not the case a decade ago. So you had to kind of ask. And then, it was like, for me, it was, I heard of someone who knew someone who had a friend who went to India to this, Tantra yoga ashram. So it wasn't very easy to get into this, but I just kind of intuitively knew. You know what it's like, right? When you kind of find your thing and you just know that that's where you need to go.
Wow, impressive. It's like a calling, yeah? You felt the sense of calling and like, I need to explore this area. It's funny, it reminds me of how I ended up having the same, it's not the same business, but like in the same field. All it was is I wanted to know the unconscious sign of a girl who's attracted to me. So I Googled literally like, what are the signs of a woman in love? And there was this article like, see this, that, and it's like, and then I was so interested. And then link after link after link, I ended up in this community of the pickup artists. And I was reading about it. I read the book, The Game, and I did like it. I felt like this guy's a little bit frustrated. And I was not that guy. I had my fair share with women, let's say. I was the popular guy in high school. I didn't have, but I did take the best out of this. And I said, you know what, I'm just going to use or add my personal touch to this. I'm going to have this beautiful, let's say, product that will teach guys and women how to meet, the other gender, let's say. And, the rest is history, but back to you.
Well, it's a good history, though.
Yeah. So tell me about this Tantra. What is it? Because I got excited to have you in the show, and I purposely, and I underline the word purposely, didn't want to do any research in the Tantra or whatsoever. I did hear about this, the sexual energy.
Yeah, so for example, for you, right, without doing the research, when I ask you what is Tantra, what do you think the Tantra is?
I have no idea. So, no, like seriously, I mean, I saw the word, flying around, but I just know it's something with energy and that you can have like multiple orgasms than the usual ones. And I never thought about like, hey, so that's why probably today I'm going to be a little bit selfish and we're going to try to explore the way I understand these things. It's like you're basically always like coaching me.
Well, happy to do it.
You will coach the audience through me. I'm sure we have a lot of questions, and I'm gonna also open up, because I also got interested through interview because my relationship during the Corona days, we had this let's say fallout because my ex became my kind of business partner, and I lost all sexual desire for her, and we didn't have sex for like 6 months, and it kind of didn't bother me, to be honest, because I was just not into it, not her. I had love for her. I had everything. She was the most wonderful woman I've ever met. Perfect, class, grace, everything. it was just not my partner. It was not for me. And a big believer in energy and spirituality. So we were not meant for each other. It's that simple. And I remember, man, we're getting deeper. I remember the day we were making love, and I knew in my head that it was the last time because I felt nothing. I hope she's not watching the show. And the guys following, don't send her the link to the interview, guys. So, but this show is about raw, honest conversations. She knows that. But I remember the moment I was so heartbroken because it was the last time. I just felt nothing. Yeah. But also, I must admit, to her credit, I have to say, because I was just get sick of Corona actually, and it destroyed. I think everyone got destroyed somehow when you got the virus. And my virus was really bad. I had problems breathing. I lost my ability. It's like I have so much pain in my joints, and even my, erection was not as strong as it used to be. I'm like, so that really added up to this thing. So
I mean, totally. We often don't think about it, but your general well-being and level of fitness, like how healthy you are, has a massive impact on the quality of our sex life. So that is definitely there.
I was not going because we were like blocked at home. So what I'm trying to say here is let's fly back in time. It's 2020. I'm not to make love to my woman. What can I do?
Mm-hmm. Well, so like you said, first of all, in Tantra, indeed, we talk a lot about energy. And so I love this perspective because I think most modern sexologists, they just look at the physical level. But my views are very different. I think that, like, if we look at the full human sexuality, like 30, 40, max 50%, that's the physical experience. But the vast majority, the depth that comes with sexuality, it's about energy. And so, yes, when we start talking about energy, we get to have a different understanding of, for example, why is it that we don't desire each other? So one of the concepts that Tantra has made very popular these days is the idea of polarity. So have you heard of polarity?
Yeah, of course.
Right? Exactly. Yes. Yeah. And so this is something we have to remember about. Now, if you look at magnets, right? If we have the opposite charge, they're going to attract each other. The same charge, pushes them away. So what does it mean for relationships? Well, at the beginning, when we're just like dating and it's all exciting, we're flirting. Of course, there's a lot of this game. There's this banter. We engage a lot of like the inner passion, which is the fire element. But then once we start living together, we become partners and we lose the role of lovers. So, if you think of a good relationship, you play a lot of different roles for each other. True. But lovers is the one role you cannot outsource, right? This is literally what makes like romantic relationship different from friendship. Like sex is what makes romantic relationship a different type of a relationship.